S01 was a woman married to a young Kazakh, both residing in Xinjiang, China. When her husband went to work in Kazakhstan, she was held back in a forced internment or so-called re-education camp. Then, in May 2018, she was taken to the dark room by a Chinese man in a mask. A part of her died in that room. Hi there, welcome to Veritas Populi. In this episode, we will be talking about one of the most organized, repressed, and currently widely accepted genocide in the world, the Uyghur Muslims in China. We will try to understand the specifics of organized genocide, the lives of victims and victimizers, how sexual violence is being used as a weapon of genocide, and most of all, the not-so-silent Uyghur resistance. Let us begin at the beginning. The Uyghurs are people whose descendancy and ethnicity are in great doubt, with conflicts between the views of the Uyghurs themselves, the Chinese, and the Americans. However, it is generally accepted that somewhere between the 9th and the 11th century, the Uyghurs migrated to East Turkestan or Xinjiang, and that the current Uyghurs are not the descendants of the ancient Uyghur kingdoms. So when did this trouble begin? It took place when the Qing dynasty conquered Mogulistan and Zungaria, renaming it Xinjiang in the 18th century. Millions were slaughtered and a slavery system was set up as well. The Chinese and the Chinese Muslims were brutal because they wanted revenge against Jahangir Khoja's people, the Uyghurs, for the lives they had lost during his invasions against China. Small rebellions took place between the next 2 centuries, with the Uyghurs even being able to set up a state. However, they always lost and were reconquered. This problem was further accelerated when artificial lines were created between various Central Asian nationalities, creating the modern-day Uyghurs, Uzbeks, Afghans, and Kazakhs, along with other nationalities as well. In the early 20th century, the Uyghurs of Xinjiang underwent a civil war, with a majority against the Qing dynasty and the Kuomintang. However, even within these nationalist revolutionaries, pro-Soviet and pro-Turkey factions were also formed. After Mao Zedong won the Chinese Civil War, the Uyghurs were empowered enough and set up their second East Turkestan Republic, which refused to join the People's Republic of China. However, a mysterious plane crash killed many of the delegation going to China, with the surviving leader, Saifuddin Azizi, joining the Chinese Communist Party and retaking Xinjiang with General Wang Zhen. The betrayer, Saifuddin Azizi, then became the region's first governor. This led to the constant migration of the Uyghurs from Xinjiang to many Western countries in Turkey. Along with this migration out of Xinjiang, there was a mass migration of Han Chinese into the region. This is very similar to Soviet policies in the SSRs of Eastern Europe. The main aim of this migration was to make the majority of the population in Xinjiang Chinese. However, that is not all. In 2004, the Uyghurs and the Turkish people together formed the East Turkestan government in exile. And finally, in 2018, an explosive and controversial expose by the BBC revealed the lengths to which the People's Republic of China had gone to maintain the lie of the Uyghurs. So what is China doing that we term this Uyghur crisis as a genocide? Most importantly, the forced internment or concentration camps of the PRC, often referred to in euphemisms as the vocational or re-education camps, which is a load of hogwash. These are very secretive places where rarely anyone has escaped, and many have perished within these camps themselves. It is said that more than 1 million people have been detained in these regions. What exactly happens in these camps? 6 things which take place. Number 1, indoctrination. The Uyghurs are forced to memorize passages praising Xi Jinping, the Chinese Communist Party, communism, etc. On failing to memorize even parts of these sentences, they have to wear different colored t-shirts which signify different levels of food deprivation, punishment, torture, etc. Second, forced sterilization. It has been noted that birth rates have fallen by 24% in the regions of Xinjiang, especially among Uyghur women, in 2019, which is pre-COVID-19 times. There are reports of forced birth control and forced abortions in these places as well. Third, slavery. Multinational corporations and the Chinese government have been known to use these prisoners as slave labor. This is akin to the treatment of the Jews in concentration camps, where forced labor was used for companies like Volkswagen, Ford, and General Motors. It is alleged that Adidas, Amazon, Apple, Samsung, and many more have been utilizing this slave labor according to the BHRRC. The fourth, organ harvesting. This is a particularly vile method of using Uyghur as cattle, only fit for parts. Number 5. Medical experimentation. There have been ethnic qualms arising due to the usage of DNA phenotyping methods, worm removals, etc. on Uyghurs as well. And of course, the sixth one, executions, where Uyghur activists, linguists, revolutionaries, journalists, etc. have been executed. What is most surprising is the level to which civil, cultural, and ethnic genocide has been taking place. It has been noted that 1/6 of all the mosques in the Xinjiang region have been razed, and many more have had severe structural damage. This includes the Mazar of Imam Azim, an important pilgrimage point for Uyghur Muslims. It has become a crime in these places to not watch state TV and radio broadcasts. Tombs and cemeteries have been destroyed and relocated to places far away and unheard of. This has become a means of eradicating the ethnic Uyghur culture. The Chinese government has gone to the extent that certain names have been banned to supposedly eradicate excess religious fervor. These names include Islam, Quran, Mecca, etc. And one of the most repulsive methods ever, the Pair Up and Become Family program. More than 1 million Chinese government workers have begun forcibly living in Uyghur homes to monitor the Uyghurs, their ideology, the political linings, their lives, etc. It has also been noted that there has been a consistent rape of women in these programs whose husbands are in internment camps themselves. Parts of this program include vile co-sleeping, cohabitation, and familialization. It's not only an ethnic but also a cultural genocide. By now you surely understand the Islamophobic and genocidal arguments hiding behind the Chinese cultural, interracial, and terrorist reasons. But the most horrific part of the Chinese genocide is the usage of sexual violence, like in Kashmir, as a weapon. The concentration camps within which so many Uyghurs are confined, young and old, are centers of mass rape. There is a rape culture which is developed in these camps. Let us go back to Ziauddin. As soon as she went into the dark room, she heard the screams of her 20-something cellmate from an adjacent room and was yet unaware of what was taking place. Then it hit her. They made her strip off her clothes and pushed an electric stick into her, electrocuting her genital tract for ages. As Saryagul Sot Bey said, gang rape is very common in these camps. It takes place publicly, with hundreds of detainees being taken together and made to write forced confessions, watching young girls and women screaming for help as they are raped in turns by police officers. Anyone who shows any signs of resilience are severely punished. It is said that the Chinese guards have even paid for time to have with these prettiest girls, often as young as 20, and would rape them for hours. And it is not only women who suffer, but men too, who are raped and electrocuted in their genitals, such as Abdulweli Ayub, who refused to confess to unfounded crimes at these camps. So what is the world doing? What are the Uyghurs doing for themselves? The world up until now has largely ignored the Chinese genocide, partly due to the lack of representation of Uyghurs on a global scale. The Uyghurs haven't. The East Turkestan Islamic Movement, or as it calls itself, the Al-Izab Al-Islami Al-Turkestani, was formed in the 1940s against the People's Republic of China. The TIP is an important Islamic extremist group known for its alleged links to the Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan. Their main ideological positions include Salafism, Pan-Turkism, Pan-Islamism, Islamic fundamentalism, and Uyghur nationalism, influenced by the anti-Soviet Afghan Mujahideen and the Uzbek jihadis, and have also been involved in the Syrian civil war against President Bashar Assad's rule. The TIP gained momentum in the 1990s under leader Hassan Massoum. They've carried out multiple attacks, including the 2008 Beijing Olympic attacks. They've been designated a terrorist organization by multiple international organizations such as the United Nations, European Union, and countries such as the United States of America and People's Republic of China. However, one international advocate for the TIP remains: the East Turkestan government in exile, situated in Washington, D.C. Formed in 2004, it considers the Chinese administration of the Xinjiang or East Turkestan an illegal military occupation. It wishes for a democratic parliamentary republic for the Uyghurs with religious and ethnic safeguards. It has often featured in American conservative circles. Formed with the support of Anwar Yusuf Durrani, who was later its first prime minister, it has ever since had 8 general assemblies, with Ghulam Osman Yagma being elected the 8th president. Now, countries such as the USA, Canada, and the Netherlands have finally recognized the Uyghur crisis as a genocide. Sanctions, trade barriers, and other such tariffs have been placed, but to what avail? That is what we must find out. I must take this moment to thank Radio Free Asia, BBC, CNN, and so many other investigative journalists who have worked long and hard to get these facts out to the world. In a country where the freedom of press is a fantasy, these reporters are a lifeline to the rest of the world. So what can we do to support them? We must support the ETGE, pressurize our lawmakers to take international action over the atrocities committed by China. We must use our voices and our votes, our political toolkit. We must save Uyghur lives from the oppression they face, so that there aren't 1,000 more Ziauddins who face much worse every day within those grey walls of the concentration camps. The day of reckoning nears for PRC. It is not a matter of if Uyghurs will be free, it's a matter of when. Support us at Veritas Populi in spreading the facts, the flip side and the face of things by liking and following our podcast. Share it with your friends and family and spread the truth, because the truth belongs to the people.